Yeah, and that's probably a perfect segue to the next thing
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about. Because there's one thing that I often think about in that context, right? Text, right? Like this unconditional love and forgiveness, which we all, and I personally strive for daily. I'm not in it 100% of 100% of the days all the time. I will be honest, I am also a human. But that's my work. That's my life work, right? I want to be better, better, and better every day as a human being, as a, uh, as a person who like loves
Yeah.
others, right? Like truly unconditionally. But like I often think like there is a certain boundary there, right? Because and that's a beautiful segue to
Mm,
men in this world right now. It's especially like a specific
mhm.
group of men, right? Because specific group of men I'm talking about, like the ones who are in charge now, right? So I'm thinking I can see them with love and
Yeah.
compassion as these little boys that are unhealed, that there's so much anger and so much
Mhm.
unexpressed emotions. But it doesn't change the fact that there is a moment when certain boundaries are crossed of like, brutality,
Yep.
dishonesty, lies, creating
Yep.
chaos, murder, etc. And then how do I reconcile that for myself, you know what I mean? Because it's like I want to be love, I want to be compassion, I want to be forgiveness, and I see that, but there's this moment that the barrier needs to be put in, you know what I mean? That sometimes it tricks me, but that's why I want to like segue to this
Yes.
subject of men, because you had this like beautiful thing that you shared on social about kind of like a PSA to men, right? Like what is going on. Which I feel a lot. I feel for men a lot these days because the times are changing, the dynamic are shifting. The world demands a different expression
Hmm.
of masculinity,
Yep.
right? And more clear, more conscious. And it doesn't mean that the men need to really change, but they on some level have to. And it's like a really tricky moment to be in. And I really feel for men that it's not this old way that
Hmm.
it used to be, right? Because we are not hunting, we are not fighting wars anymore. Well, some people still want to use that and still use that, but this is not where we are
Yeah.
going, right? So how to be this man in this new world, like, and how to get there, right? Because what you shared that so beautifully with love and compassion again, it's like, the issue is that there is just so many emotions that are unexpressed. Like there's such a disconnect, right? That men experience between what they feel, how they feel, and how they show up, and the reconciliation of themselves. Just
Yeah.
unpack for
Totally.
like any advice like we talked about before this interview. Like, okay, we know what the problem is. Like, what is
Oh
the
my God. Yeah. We
solution?
just opened up a can of worms, and we're gonna
I
spill
can't
the tea now. There's a lot to
yeah.
unpack here. And okay, there's different elements to this too. I want to start the conversation by acknowledging that, again, we come here to this experience for the contrast. That when we exist in the non-physical, everything is light, everything is love,
Yeah.
everything is unconditional compassion. But we come here to experience that contrast of real darkness, of real narcissism, hatred, war, deception, and to exist in the existence of light, of love, of compassion. And so that we, the job of you and I, and however we do it, we are here to be that expression of love and to do our best to be that expression of love in a world that is really, really dark. And that
Yes.
darkness is a gift. I love this analogy that I just learned. It's not mine. I don't even remember where I saw it. It's that stars shine and are visible because they have a backdrop of darkness, right? If it was all light, you wouldn't see the stars. And so that is how we have to see ourselves too, that we exist in this backdrop of a very dark world, that there is a lot of darkness that is coming up to be seen, to be healed, to be rewritten for a different destiny, but that we are the light workers. We are here bringing in light frequency. We are here to be our true selves, not to hide anymore. And we are here to offer a new way of being. So I totally relate to you. Like, I understand it is difficult to not get sucked into that darkness of reading headlines, of being just around dark, heavy people everywhere that we go. It's difficult to not take
Yeah.
that on, and that's where we have to be really, as you said, use the word boundaried in who we are, in our energetic practice, in what we give and what we are receiving, clearing our energy, clearing energetic ties to people who are dark, that we have to really put in the work and intention to make sure that we are light, that we are being the truest, most authentic expression of who we are. And so I'll say that the darkness is a true gift. Because when we talk about the awakening, I'm going to take us back for a second. One of my biggest awakening moments, because awakening is a process, right? It's not just one overnight thing. That a big part of that awakening for me was narcissists, was coming up against narcissistic people, manipulative people, deceptive people, being taken advantage of, having my heart broken, having my wounds illuminated to me, right? Like really going through it, like being knocked down and knocked down again. But that was my greatest gift, the narcissists in my life. And so
again, like you started shining because your backdrop was this darkness, right? So this darkness, so it's kind of like what Kabbalah said, right? Like the light is excess of darkness. So this darkness pushes away. It's almost like this darkness, like this is how I see it now, like this darkness that is coming up at us now and it's surrounding us is asking us, okay, what are you going to do now? Are you going to shine? Are you going to choose the light, or are you going to get sucked with the darkness? Like this is almost how, right? That's
absolutely
how it feels. But really, it's just asking that. There's no even choice of like getting sucked with the darkness. It's just like shine, just shine, just go shine. That's the task. And it's like the shining on whatever level there is, right? Like you have your platform and that's your shine, but it's like shining. I don't know, like the last week I was talking to my husband. We walk by this house when we go to get coffee, and it's a beautiful Zen garden. And we live here for 5 years, and I always walk by this house and I always say, oh my God, this garden is so freaking amazing. Somebody did such an amazing job. And after this 5 years, last week, I walked there and the woman stands in this garden and I'm like, excuse me, this is your garden? And she's like, yeah, I did it. And I was like, this is like one of the most, and I told her the story. I'm like walking 5 years by it and I always admire how Zen you made it, that it's so organized, but it's still organic. And it's just like perfect gives me this perfect feeling. And like literally I feel like I made her year. Like it wasn't even my purpose. I just really was excited to finally see somebody who's belong, and it's like, it's even on this level, you know what I mean? When I finished the conversation, I was like, wow, I really think I made her day or week even, because she got so excited and I got so excited. You know what I mean? So I'm like talking about like, on any level, we can be that light to somebody or somewhere,
and it's so meaningful, like more than we could even understand, because just like you're saying, there's so much darkness and people who are here to do something about that darkness are so easily succumbing to it that they don't necessarily have the tools, they don't have access to, other people around them who embody that light. And so that's what our mission is to just anchor that in, to spread it as far as we can. And that then with the question of like all the darkness in the world, like what do we do about it? Again, it's the energetic boundaries to not take that on, to see it, but then to choose to rewrite that reality, to I don't know if this is the right word, but to overpower that darkness in how you can, right? To be strong in who you are, to not let it seep into your energy field, right? And so again, that's where so many healers, light workers, highly empathic, sensitive people are really struggling right now, myself included sometimes. It's heavy out there, it's dark, and we have to be really discerning with what we see, with what is truthful, with what we want to, and with what we want to then allow in, because then that creates our reality. Like it's a real practice in strength, being a human on planet Earth. Like this is the most challenging place I think that you could come to, because we have to remember that we're also here completely forgetting who we are. So not only coming up against these like huge waves of darkness that are now coming to the surface, but also, again, still trying to understand ourselves in the midst of that and not be overpowered by all the noise out there, by all the examples of greed and hatred and narcissism and violence, right? Like to really stay steady in who we are and to make a little corner for ourselves that we can then shine for other people. Okay.
Yeah. Well, then you have to go back to men for a second.
Talking about men. Yeah, because it's a challenging time for men too. Like there's so much loneliness, there's so much disconnection between men. And my experience of being a man is different than being a straight man, right? That I think being gay actually is a blessing in some way because it gives you freedom and flexibility, hall pass to be more yourself, that you're not locked into the patriarchy, you're not locked into what we've been told being a man is, like boys don't cry, boys don't show emotion, boys have to be strong. And that really becomes internalized to such a degree that then they become so isolated and disconnected from who they really are. They become isolated and disconnected from other men, isolated and disconnected from women, from the entire world. And they just, at this point, it's like the male species as a whole, it's like imploding on itself. But I believe that that implosion is so that then a new transformation can occur, that men can realize that there's a different way to exist, that you can show vulnerability, you can have emotions, you can have male friends, and with those male friends you can talk about your emotions. Like so many guys, I feel so bad for them. They don't have real genuine friendships, and if they do, they're probably with women, because women are not as bogged down with those really, really heavy beliefs, right? And so there's this new generation of men that are coming forth that, again, with courage, are rewriting what it means to be a man, that having sensitivity, having vulnerability is actually what makes you strong. And it's what allows you to lean on other people for connection, which is what we so need in this life experience. Like we need our community. We need friendship. We need love. We need to see ourselves in other people, like in role models. So it's also really interesting. Like I'll just finish with this thought that there's such a divide. Like within that darkness, there are so many men that are being brought down a rabbit hole of, hyper masculinity, hyper individualism. And then there's the other side of men that are waking up to this, that are understanding themselves better, that are rewriting the definitions of what it means to be a man. And this is also part of the divide that we came here to experience, that some people were here to go down a dark path in order to show others what they don't want to be, right? Like contrast is what allows us to really see and then choose, to make a decisive choice. And so while it's sad to see that some men are really going down this isolated, lonely path, it's all for a greater purpose that is hard for us to see in some sense, that there's a lot going on in the energetic realm that we aren't fully seeing yet in the physical space. But again, there's this divide going on in consciousness in general, that men are a symptom of the darkness, of staying stuck in a consciousness that is really heavily rooted in fear, and everything that is attached to fear. And then there is the divide of people, again, awakening, waking up, and that there's this like split reality that we're seeing. It's like we are seeing a world, but we're separated by plexiglass. It's like we can still see them, but it's like they are just existing in a totally different reality from us. Like there's, especially with social media, now that we all get our information from different places, it's really obvious.
Yeah.
But it serves a higher purpose. And more men who are waking up are then providing, just like we spoke about earlier, are providing the example for other men to do the same thing.
Yeah. And I think there are already men in arena that are embodying this new, because what is really interesting, that the essence of men for me, when I think about this new era of men, is not changing. It's still stability. It's still safety. It's still grounding. It's like I'm looking at like relationship with my husband, or like I think my father was a great example for me. And there's like few people in politics now who already are like, they are still leading, but they are not leading by this toxic, power tripping, just brutality. It's this creating pockets and worlds of safety, right? That does not need the toxic force. You know what I mean? It's this peaceful safety grounding creation moment, and still leadership, because they are still leading, right? But it's not by having a gun in their hand, but it's just by words, by compassion, by listening, understanding what needs to be provided, right? And I just love to already see seeing it, and like for me, being in a partnership like that, right? Like my husband is my grounding. Like he is like, I always envision our relationship that like I'm a balloon on the ribbon, and like, and if he would let it go, like I would fly out, but he holds me tight, right? And he provides this stability and like allows me to fly, whatever. Like that,
Yes.
that's how I feel it, and provides this safety and grounding. And I think that's what the the new expression of men looks like, which is that it's not changing. It's still this, right? Safety, but how you achieve it is
Absolutely.
different, right? There's no this toxic power, the overpowering, power tripping, bringing somebody down, disrespecting. This is not how you do it, right? Like you do it by love and and that only can be done when you connect to your feelings, when you understand how to feel love, when you understand how to feel safety, then you can provide safety for others, right? When you understand compassion for yourself, then you can provide compassion for others. So it all goes back to like men healing. So I invite all the men to breath work with me. I think it's just such an amazing tool. I already had so many sessions with men who like got up crying and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know how much shit I had stuck in me. I was like, yep, that's all this unexpressed.
That's part of the awakening. Yeah, of having it all come to the surface, seeing it, and then releasing it with compassion. And what you're talking about with your husband is so beautiful that you have that, because that is the role of the divine masculine, like you're saying, to be that grounding, stable force, as opposed to the old paradigm, which was really rooted in ego and control, manipulation, right? Like that's the difference. One is coming from pure ego, and the other is coming from, you know, an influence of the divine masculine presence, but it doesn't have to control. It doesn't use brute force. Exactly.
Overpower.
Exactly. But
it's just this stability.
Exactly.
That's what it is. This is just this like the force, but it's a force like inward versus like outward. You know what I mean? It's like being a rock versus like avalanche of.
Exactly. And so, you know, one other thing I want to like say with that is it's part of a larger collapse that we're seeing right now. Like you could call it the great narcissistic collapse, that we're seeing a temper tantrum being thrown by all the major powers that exist in ego, that exist in narcissism, right? Like when something is losing its power, it gets louder. And so I think that is what we're actively witnessing, is that paradigm collapsing, that brute force, that overt narcissism. And we are moving into that more stable, grounded, empathic paradigm for men, that they can just show up as truly themselves. But again, like this is part of why the world feels so crazy right now, is all of these old ways of being, these old frequencies are being exposed. It's like they're losing their power, so they're having their tantrum right now, and we just have to get through it.
Yeah. And you know, any kind of birth, rebuilding requires some level of distraction. Like we, you know, even in our worlds, right? Like you and me, for us, ourselves to create our new world and new things we are doing in the world, the old part of us and our world have to be destroyed on some level, have to disappear, right? Had to be disheveled, which is never pleasant. Like it wasn't present for me, right? Like losing the stability, choosing to lose the stability of my job and all that comes with it. And my ego heard it so much without my title that meant nothing by end of the day. It made me feel so cozy and so important.
So many people feel like they're going crazy because they might not fully understand what's happening, but they're losing a grip on that old identity, on the old reality that they lived in. But just like you're saying, you have to really allow yourself to let it go, to allow it to be witnessed. And then that is what creates the space for you to make something new. But yeah, it's not easy. It really feels like your whole world is collapsing when we're talking about that process at the individual level.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I don't know how about you, but helped me a lot is this idea of reframing, right? Because we can't focus on pain. And I did it for such a long time in my life in many levels, areas, and ways. But then if we can, after feeling this initial what it is, if we can reframe it and shift it, okay, what is the opportunity, a lesson here? If we can only do this step, again, not repress the emotions, not repress what we feel it all, but then, take a baby steps towards this idea. Okay, what is the learning here? What is the opportunity to growth? Because that will help us reframe and shift it into different way of thinking, different way of taking action, and seeing a different way, right? Because then we stop feeling the whatever pain it was, and we'll be fully focused on opportunity and the lesson that
Absolutely.
I
totally agree. And that's my advice for people, similar to what you're describing.
Yes, please. What is your biggest advice for the chaotic times we are living in?
There's so many pieces of advice, but I guess the one that I'm rolling with is to quiet the story that keeps us so attached to the old world, to the old identity of who we thought we were, right? That in the process of quieting our minds and actually just experiencing the feelings of letting whatever needs to come up to be released, that is how we truly make space for something new to come in. That's how I opened myself to be able to channel, was literally in the midst of quieting the story, of quieting the over-identification to my human story, and to just experience emotion as energy in motion, emotion, right? To see it as energy that needs to have attention brought to it so that it can be cleared. So it's very simple, but it's really powerful. And I think so many people would benefit if they just give themselves the space to feel everything and to trust that they won't get stuck in it, but they just need to quiet the thought loops, the stories that keep them stuck, the over identification with, well, this is my story and this is just who I am, right? Because we're not who we think we are. We're so much bigger than this human experience. This is just one facet of who we really are.
Amen, Thomas. Oh my God, we could not finish. Like I always say, we are beautiful, organic, genius machines, and we are just constantly reminded to forget about it. So here we are reminding you to not forget about it. Love it. Love it, Thomas. Oh my God, we could, we could go probably for hours and hours.
Yeah.
Where people can find you. I'm obviously going to link everything, your Instagram, your TikTok, your website. Is there anything besides readings, soul readings you are doing that you can help people navigate through times or through decisions or through moments in life? All life in general. Is there anything else that you are offering and people can connect with you?
So you can reach me at Thomas Channels. I think there's an underscore in there. But we'll get the right links in the description here. So that's on TikTok and Instagram.
Yes.
And then within those pages is my booking page where I offer different tiers of one-on-one sessions. And I'm also about to launch, which I'm very excited about, my first course. And any day now, like I'm hoping even by tomorrow, it'll be ready to launch. But the course is focused on, and yeah, we're talking about this. Yeah.
Yes. I think this is how I came across you. This was such an amazing story because I had this limerence of a person for so many years. And then I discovered what pattern was it. And then by end of it, I saw your video and you talk about limerence. And I was like, that was it. That was this all 10 years of my life. I was recreating a pattern of emotional dynamics in my family outside of it. And that's why I was connected to that person. And then I understood it. And then I saw your
limerence,
video.
Which is, for those who don't know that term, it's person obsession. It's like extreme attachment to someone who typically is no longer in our lives, right? So they become a fantasy that we're projecting onto. Yeah, it's so debilitating, but so powerful because it is your gateway. It's your doorway into freedom of stepping into the truest sense of who you are. I totally relate to you. Like, it ruined my life for months or years. And it's a really common thing because, again, it's everybody.
So common. Yeah. I didn't even know.
I know. Like that video I did blew up because of it. Everybody's gone. Yeah. But I think there's...
Yeah. And just to explain how this show up for me. So I grew up with very secure, beautiful relationship with my father. And my other parent was emotionally unavailable. So because now I'm in a secure relationship with my husband, I try to create this void of this other feeling. It wasn't a relationship on the side per se, but the feeling that I used to have as a child of somebody being emotionally available, and I chased them. So I created that person. I found this one person that I was on some level mentally, not obsessing, because it feels like felt like connection, but I was like, what the heck is this about? It's not even connection, but I feel connected, but I feel invested, and I feel like, it was just like, and then it just came to me that I am recreating what I grew up with, so the dynamic feels the same because the same felt safe. And then I was like, oh my God, I don't have to do it anymore because I'm not that kid. I don't need that whole thing. So much wasted energy there. It was just such a mind fuck. Sorry for my language, because I was like, what is this about? Why am I thinking about this person? But I was recreating this feeling of like chasing because that person was emotionally available. You know what I mean? Why I was in a secure relationship, because that's the parent dynamic I experienced as a kid. So I was recreating it again because that was normal.
It is crazy.
And then by end of it, like I literally saw it for what it is. And then I saw your video and I was like, oh my God, that was limerence. That I was limering like all that
time. So
time.
trying to share through that TikTok video, through this course that I'm about to launch, trying to help people see themselves in the description of limerence and to invite them to go deeper into exploring what is correlating to my early days in this lifetime. But even beyond that, I think there's a lot of great work out there in psychology that addresses, family childhood wounding. And that is really a huge part of it, just like you're talking about with your experience. It was part of mine too. But I take it a step further where I want to incorporate the blueprint of the soul. Like, why on a soul level did we choose this? So that we don't see it as just an accident that we witnessed this dynamic in our parents, but seeing and understanding that this is a blueprint. It's a theme that we chose to come into this experience with. We chose our family. We chose that romantic partner, contracted in from the soul level so that we could work out that dynamic. We could work out that wounding in order for us to heal it. So that, again, it can come from childhood, and it usually does, but that it can be elements that we're bringing in from other lifetimes, and we're clearing ancestral in the same time. Like, one of my most intense limerence experiences was realizing that I was playing out patterns, not even that I've experienced in my past, but from my parents and from my ancestors, that I was actually playing them. I was playing their role, so that then I could clear that ancestral karma once and for all. It wasn't even mine directly. And that was the real mind-blowing moment, because so I'd been involved with a narcissist, and when I realized that, I cut it off, right? But my limerence for him just was obsessive. I was the one that ended it and said, please don't contact me again. But for months I could not get over him. It was seriously ruining my life. And it wasn't until I understood really who he was, that he was not who I thought he was. But then what really broke the limerence was understanding the dynamic that I was playing out from my family, from my parents, from my ancestors. It wasn't until that clicked, and realizing, oh, that's why I couldn't let it go. That's why I was still stuck, because I wasn't addressing the whole reason that I scripted this person into my life, that they played a role for me. They were just a character. But until I fully understood that rather, I was still stuck, because how could I let it go if I wasn't getting to the root? So even if I did wrangle myself into stopping the obsession with him, I would just recreate it with somebody else until I finally got it. Because the limerence, again, is not just getting over an ex. It's a gateway. It's a portal into moving into our life's purpose, into truly stepping into the most grounded, truest expression of ourselves. So that relationship, that was a big part of my awakening. It was limerence, but then it totally changed the trajectory of my life. And so that's where my course differs, in that we're not just talking about typical psychology and inner child work. It is that, but then it's, again, going a step further to understanding what is our soul's purpose for being here, and how can we use that experience to catapult us forward. Yeah, it's the best.
Fascinating. Now you made me think I may need to take this. And I think this is like the future also of healing, growth, expansion, like providing, how to call it, containers like this when we learn together, when we learn different way, when we heal different way, when we expand differently, when we explore, right? Of course, like this few, whatever, how long it is, couple weeks, 3 weeks, and we can, I think it's just like the most beautiful thing that we have available now. Obviously you have to be careful who you work with and make sure you find legit sources, but I think it's just so amazing that there are healers and people like you there that offer this, like, even I was like a part of something 6 weeks lately, and it allows me for so much growth, so much healing, understanding, like being in the coven with women for 6 weeks and talking about energy and souls and being accepted, being seen, being not scared to talk about it. Like talking about that I saw an owl on somebody's shoulder and everybody was like, oh my God, really? Like, like those are the moments, the courses, like the containers like this that I know maybe not everybody is open to it, but it's just such a beautiful offerings that can be so expensive, healing, and like provide so much growth. So we'll definitely, include and link
coming
that.
soon.
Thomas, thank you. This is why I love social media. I know we are bitching it about it, but this is like taking our own responsibility. All you can take it and create beautiful worlds and spread amazing messages with it. Meet amazing people. Like, how would I meet you in Toronto when I never been in Toronto yet, right? But thanks to social media, I came across you and we could have this amazing conversation. And I hope we can stay in touch. But thank you so much. Thank you for all your work and your light and your wisdom that you are sharing daily. Like literally each of your videos is for me like a moment of like stopping and thinking and wondering about different things or healing. Like this limerence video was for me. Like I remember I was like, no way, that was it.
Right.
That was
like,
it for me.
Seeing ourselves in the words that I just provide. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And you have this amazing ability to kind of explain and articulate things we all going through at this moment of time in such a beautiful, clear, and human way. So
thank you so much. I also am so grateful that we together.
Well, Goldhar.
Yes, Golden Sound. I love that. I'm going to take that to heart. Well, thank you so much for having me. Like we could talk forever.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that the internet afforded us this connection too.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks,
well, thank you for having me.